When you feel a little tickle in your nose and you really, really, really want to sneeze. Don't hold it in, just let it go. When you really, really, really want to sneeze.
Did we do a mic check? Hey, welcome back to the IIV League Podcast. We lost a little bit of footage here. We were in the middle of a great conversation.
Really
but don't worry about that
because
we're going to recap it for you. But for anything we missed, my name is Lonnie. I go by Lonnie IIV. I have a master's in business administration and undergrad in human factor psychology.
My name is Sara. I go by T. Sara, Sarita, Sara-chan, Sarita Senpai.
Hey.
And then I have a bachelor's of arts in psychology, and I have a registered behavioral technician certification, which in some companies does not mean anything because it's 40 hours, but in my company means a lot.
Ooh. And my name is Sam. It's a boy, Saucy. And I got my degree in aerospace engineering.
All right, hit that intro, Sam.
Oh, again?
Please, do it, please.
I don't even remember what it was last time. That's how off
it
the
different
dome
every
it
time?
was.
Absolutely.
Oh,
All right, I got to think of a new one.
all right.
I got a beat for you. All right.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Hey. That's what I'm talking about. Because we on the IIV League Podcast. The IIV League Podcast. Yeah, we IIV League Podcasting. Yeah.
Fire.
Quick word from our sponsor. A quick word from our sponsors. Los Angeles Highway Patrol.
Ayo.
My name is Richard. I patrol these highways, and I make sure people aren't speeding too fast. And if they are, I'm going to pull them over, and I'm going to give them a ticket. You can help me by joining the Los Angeles Police, Los Angeles Highway Patrol, County Patrol.
We are now hiring.
Hiring now. Thank you, LAPD Highway Patrol.
little like dedicated to.
Yeah.
Sign.
Big shout out to LAPD Patrol Podcast, us people.
Ooh.
But yeah, going to this baby shower to San Diego. We are on the drive. It is mountainous. Our phone has overheated one time while we were recording.
But
so,
we are proactive and we provided shade.
Yeah, we
have created
it, so
shade.
now we'll see if this works better. The car is on autopilot. 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 Dure solo dolo. Autopilot. Yeah. I wrote that myself.
We should have done that for the intro.
I wrote that myself. I did it myself. I do it together with nobody else. But yeah, so we're driving down to San Diego. This episode, recently I put a post up on my page asking you guys to tell me what is one thing you wish your parents taught you as a child. And Sara here, being in the field of therapy, psychology, and understanding of people, gave a little breakdown of like love bombing because it is related. But for those of you guys who don't know, love bombing is like this thing we decided, as we talked through it.
We created our own definition.
Yeah. So this is going to be in the what is it? Not the VMA, the VSM. The book that psychologists
DSM.
Yes, the DSM.
The DSM.
The DSM.
The DSM 6, though, because there's 5, and we're doing the 6th
Yeah,
version.
we're adding the DSM 6. If you don't know, that's like the psychology handbook.
Diagnostic Statistical Manual, or Diagnostics S is for something else. S is for Sara.
How to diagnose people. Yeah, the S is for Sara.
The S is for Sara.
But the concept of love bombing is whenever you basically like jump into a relationship, that could be friendship, any kind of relationship, and you apply or release extreme amounts of love, care, and affection in order to try to get the other person to stay.
And it may not be natural to you, like not how you would go about a normal relationship, a natural occurring relationship. It might be just like a little accelerated, and you would be aware of it. Like, this is kind of like a little extra for me, or someone else would feel uncomfortable by it.
Yeah, you like try to speed up the steps of friendship, and like it's like, oh, okay, well, if I just give them more love, then they'll want to be my friend, and I'll do that really fast or whatever. Instead of like letting the natural flow go. And the important thing to remember is that you are enough, and you do not have to speed through. And if someone likes you, they will like you for you. I do think it's always important to work on yourself. I tell Sam this all the time. I'm like, Sam, you need to be a better version of yourself.
So you're going to say be a better version of me?
Yeah. I just tell Sam all the time, like, Sam, you are not good enough. And like,
you need to be more like me.
He does.
Yeah, I tell her that often. Everybody else is good. Sam, I really do throw you under the
love you,
bus half the time for like no reason. Like whenever me and Sam are just sitting around, I'm like, Sam, I really appreciate you. Like, thank you so much for your help. The moment we get around other people, I'm like, Sam is lame. Sam isn't so good at things. Look at Sam. Haha.
Like sometimes when we're like on our way to an event, like in the car, he's so wholesome and like, I really appreciate what you do to help out and yada yada yada. And then as soon as we get to the event, he's like, let me list 3 reasons why I hate this guy right here, and then proceeds to list 27
come out really
of them.
quickly.
That is the opposite of love bombing. That is how you create Stockholm syndrome.
Yes.
We were just at we picked up Sara, and I got to meet me and Sam met Sarah's mom for the first time. And let me tell you how much I miss like having any kind of like mother figure in my life.
Oh.
Yes.
Like she made us breakfast. She was like playing music and just enjoying life, and I'm like, all of my friends are 25 and don't know how to do taxes.
Or cook breakfast.
Yeah, or cook breakfast.
Yeah, or do their dishes.
Or do the dishes.
Cannot do their dishes. I swear to God, the first time we moved out to LA and met all the influencer people who just had a ton of money and literally no idea of how to like clean their home.
Nobody?
Oh.
No clue.
Tough.
I think we just went to the wrong places.
I think so.
We have one friend, Sam, and if he listens to this, he'll know we're talking about him. I thought it was the funniest thing ever, and I told him his refrigerator was filled with Lunchables and Capri Suns.
Oh.
To the brim.
Ooh.
Oh boy.
To the brim. Not a single piece of deli meat. Like
Nothing.
Like it had Prime drinks, Lunchables, and we're the same age.
I don't.
He also drinks milk anytime we go out to eat. He gets a glass of milk.
I feel like as an adult, like you're making that conscious decision, like, and you've been exposed to life, like that's okay, right? Like if you get exposed to the life's joy and you still choose Lunchables, like that's okay, right?
Gotta be. Let's hope so.
It's not the Lunchables that threw me off. It was the milk.
Was it
like
the milk?
like we were at Denny's, ordering normal people food, and then he was like, yes, can I have a glass of milk? Everyone
Do
else
I
is
know
getting
this friend?
water.
Yeah.
Who is
Oh,
it?
yeah.
No.
Don't tell me. Okay, tell me later.
I'll tell you.
Hey, it took me a second to figure it out too. I was like, huh?
Wait,
And then you said the milk thing, and I was like, I know it.
Okay, another hot.
And I love him so much. Like he's like
Great
one of the nicest people I know. Literally one of the nicest like creators I know. And I just go to his pantry. I guess nobody's perfect. Whispering by the microphone, so dumb.
I don't know him.
Maybe you met him.
I
You met
did.
him one time.
Okay. One
But
time.
You probably met him at the Denny's where he ordered
The milk.
yeah, the milk. Tell
I'm
you
trying to
what,
refresh my memory.
was wild. But going back to this, staying on track, staying on topic. You guys remember me scientific.
I love how your audience is your accountability system.
They're like,
They
"Can
just
you
bully
please
you into staying on
they're like, "Can
track.
you focus. I'm like, you want to stifle my creativity. Okay, so I put the post up. Sam, were you able to find
Yeah.
it? So I took like the top 3, or basically took the top 3 comments that were the most liked in terms of like what people felt like they wish they were taught growing up. I asked about love bombing because as I like thought about it, I'm like, is this post kind of like that? Like, am I asking too deep of questions too soon? Like,
Okay.
too soon. It's like, guys, we've only been knowing each other for like 4 years now as I've been a creator. Like, it's too soon for me to ask you like the thing you wish. But I do ask people when I first meet them. This is like a decent question because you can get as deep or as like not deep as you want to. Also, we're driving down the side of a mountain. My ears are popping.
And we are going very fast.
We are 81. Good thing we have autopilot. They're gonna find out in 5 years that it was never really autopilot. It was just adaptive cruise control. Guys, look, I can go to sleep right now.
Adaptive cruise control.
I can go to sleep and the car will drive itself.
Crash.
Untrue.
Yeah, do not.
What was the number one?
I believe the
most
number one
liked?
liked comment was how to cope with my emotions in a healthy way instead of pretending nothing is wrong. Which, to be honest, though, a lot of people adopted this fuck it we ball type of attitude during the pandemic.
Yeah, you
Yeah, I
had
do remember
to.
that phrase. Yeah.
And they just kind of ignored their problems, and it worked out for some of them.
I mean, because it's just, you go. So that, I mean, I think as a society, we have the time in society where it's like, hey, the Vietnam War is happening. We don't have time for emotions. It is do or die.
Emotions
we are
are
in
a luxury. We cannot
yeah,
afford.
we are in a crisis mode.
Mhm.
You know, and in crisis mode, I think we do as humans go into survival. You know.
Well, considering like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Like emotional needs are at the top.
Yeah.
If you're in a war, the very first thing is safety. So
Yeah.
that thing is like out the window. You're trying to live right now.
Yeah.
Secure basic needs like water, shelter, food, like safety, like those things come first.
And we
for
talked
every single person.
I mean, and we talked about this last podcast. I think about how like people in the military are trained to focus on like safety. Like that is what they are. That is their main primary
Right.
function. They're like built like emotion, all that other stuff.
Out
Bump
the
it.
window.
Safety is all you are trained to do. You know. So whenever you get back into society with all these people who are at the emotional part, you know, it's like, oh, you guys are soft. You have safety. What are you complaining for?
Mhm.
That's where you get the
Yeah.
whole like, yo, snowflake
I
energy.
hate that term because it's like you have emotional needs too. You just haven't been able to access them,
Yes.
Yeah.
and you'll feel that. You'll feel it.
It comes out in some way or another, but I mean, like, just most people have been trained, like, you just
Yeah.
deal with it, you know? And in the pandemic, we were in crisis mode.
Yeah.
We've been put in a spot where we've never felt before. Sam, how would you recommend, like, people kind of navigate more into that?
Once again, I'm probably not the best.
Which is what makes you the perfect candidate.
Yes,
Yeah.
Sam. Give me your wisdom. I want it now.
I say you ignore it until it goes away, because
Okay.
that's what works for me.
Okay.
And
Fair.
So
it
we've
works
all-
surprisingly well. I'm not gonna lie.
You do have a beautiful life.
Thank you.
Why'd you hesitate?
You never let me think. Every time you ask me a question, if I take more than 0.1 seconds, I feel like we discussed this on the last podcast too.
Yeah.
Every time he asks me a question and I take more than 0.1 seconds to
Ooh.
respond to it, he's like, "Why'd you take so long to respond?
Yeah, what were you thinking
was
about
that
that?
about?"
What were you thinking
And
about?
I'm like, I was
I didn't finish the
processing
thought
what
in my
you.
sentence.
Yeah.
The sentence in my thought. There we go.
I was like, bro, the answer I gave you isn't even true. That was a reflex. And that took too long? I haven't even processed what you
Exactly.
said.
Do you know what you just said right now?
Huh?
Do you know what you said right now with the
Huh?
reason? Ew.
There it is. See? See?
Do you want another minute, Sam? Your opinions are valuable, okay?
What was the
See?
question again?
Told you. The hesitation is an indicator. Tell you what. The things you know in your soul. You need not more time. Okay, so the question, the statement was the most liked thing that people said and resonated with was knowing how to actually process your emotions.
Knowing how to cope with your emotions in a healthy way, instead of pretending nothing's wrong.
Ooh, Sarah,
Oui.
I don't even know. I mean, go ahead, tell a story.
Okay, well, I do have one story.
She's like, well, I am prepared.
So I'm not like emotionally healthy by any means, like by any means.
I love
I'm
that.
not well, but I work with kids, and one of the beauty of kids in the place that I'm in, like doing my job right, is seeing the effects of like emotional acknowledgement. Like my kid is 4, right? He's 4 years old. He fell. We were playing monkey tag. It's like a fun little game outside. He fell on the concrete, face planted.
Oh.
I immediately picked him up and I looked at him. I'm like, are you okay? This kid, oh my God, he stood there. His lip was quivering. He was like, he just nodded his head. And I was like, we can go sit down. I was like, and he was like nodding his head. I was like, hey, I was like, you look hurt. I'm like, it's okay to be sad. It's okay to feel hurt right now. It's okay. I was like, it's okay to cry right now. We can keep playing or we can sit down, and that's okay. And I like just waited for him to respond, because I didn't want to I didn't want to tell him how he was feeling. That's the first thing, right?
Yeah.
Everyone kind of, you grow up hearing, it's helpful to kind of have a baseline to associate your feelings, but sometimes it becomes confusing when people tell you you're feeling this right now. You're like, I don't know if that's true.
Yeah.
So
You're probably feeling this. You're feeling this.
So I'm like, hey, you look hurt. You look sad.
You seem this.
You seem this way. Like, these are the options I have for you.
Yeah.
Where I allowed him to just kind of like, he cried a little bit. Oh, he cried a little bit, but that's okay, right? Like, otherwise,
Car got really loud.
ooh.
Sorry.
Oh yeah. Otherwise, maybe he wouldn't have associated like, hey, like there's something wrong, and there is something that I can do about it, and it will be okay. Like
Yeah.
that kind of like pattern needs to develop early in life. Like, there's something wrong, I can do something about it, and it will be okay. Hopefully, eventually, maybe. But there's a possibility of it being okay.
Yeah.
And I wanted to teach that to him just in that little small moment. And he was like, I want to keep playing. I was like, go ahead.
So you mean like acknowledge that there is something wrong or something
Acknowledge
has
that
happened?
there is something wrong. Know that you can experience those feelings. Me, as a Scorpio woman, I experience things very intensely, and my emotions hit me so deep, so hard. But like, my friends are always telling me, like, just feel what you're feeling, like right then and there, and like let it happen. And then like, no, you'll be okay at some point. Like, eventually time will continue, and you'll have to get over it.
Yeah.
And you can deal with it again, maybe when you're more prepared or you're more calm.
I mean, that's super true, because unfortunately, like, so me being in Los Angeles, a very real time example, like, I didn't realize, like, I was having kind of a hard time being out here, and like some nights were just like tough. Like I'm sitting here like on my sofa staring out the window. Like I have a beautiful tree outside my house. It's just a good tree.
It's gorgeous.
It's a good tree. I love that tree. But even the tree wasn't making me happy. Stick and hoop wasn't making me happy. Ball and hoop wasn't making me happy. Climb big rock, look out, wasn't making me happy.
Man,
these are
look
things
out window,
that usually make
see big rock.
Yeah, these are usually things that make boy happy.
Make boy happy.
Boy need not many things. Boy need big rock climb on. And even these things, even with all the treasures in the world,
All boy need is
All boy
food,
need.
shelter, and big rock to climb.
big rock climb up, look out, see earth. Boy no happy, boy sad. Why? Even with all these things, boy still sad. But no, I was like just having some times. I'm like, dang, this sucks. I want to leave. I don't want to be here. Like, I want to move away. I'm bored. I don't feel like doing anything. What's the point? I was getting what's the point a whole lot. Like, what's the point of trying? What's the point of doing this? What's the point?
I get that a lot too.
And I realized, I think I was playing a song. I kind of process my emotions when I play music. Like, I'll play a song on the guitar, and then it'll hit some lyrics will hit me, and I'll be like, oh, that's what I feel. You know, and then I'll like cry a little bit. But otherwise, I only cry watching Disney movies, and I think that's because it's a coping mechanism in a sense of like I'm very used to being a fixer in my family. So like, whenever I was like younger, I had 4 siblings. Like we didn't have a whole lot of money at all. Like lights getting turned off at the house and stuff. And my mom was also like pregnant half the time. That sounds crazy.
Half the time.
That sounds crazy to say.
Jeez.
It's like she was just getting pregnant randomly all the time. I only have 4 siblings. It just felt like she was pregnant for a long time in my childhood.
It's like 9 months minimum.
Right.
It's a long time.
Maximum 9 months, dude. Like at most, not even a year. There's no way she was pregnant for more than 9 months at a time. But it felt like a long time. So there was a lot of stress and anxiety in a very small home. And I took it upon myself to create like the sense of like peace and normalcy and like sanity. So I was always trying to fix things and like make sure people was happy, make sure my mom was calm. Because if she was calm, everything else was mostly okay.
Right.
But she was also trying to make sure we all had what we needed. So the stress was all on her. So if I keep her from getting stressed out, whatever. But I almost forgot where I was going with this.
Coping skills. I forgot midway of mine too. I realized that after. I was like,
I got
sorry.
too deep. I got too deep.
I remembered my point of my story.
Yeah. I'm like,
in hindsight.
I'm like, where am I? Oh my. Coping skills. Oh no, what was I gonna say with that though?
Oh no.
You were talking about coping skills and how yours was kind of like to fix things because of like the experience that you had.
But oh no, Sam, do you remember?
Ooh.
I'm still processing the first chapter.
Oh my god. I was saying the coping skills, the way I cope. Oh dang, that's tough. Guys, I'm gonna have to go back and listen to it.
Oh no.
Okay.
Not right now, but it's gone, I guess.
Okay. So my takeaway is...
Oh wait, emotionals.
There we go.
Processing emotions. Processing emotions.
Run with it, boy.
Processing emotions. I would not process my emotions in real time because I was like, whenever things got emotionally heated or emotionally intense, I would default to like pausing my own emotions to make sure the situation was resolved.
Oh, you kind of like put your emotions on the back burner.
Yeah. Like get those out of here. You need to think logically and focus because somebody else's emotions are like running either haywire or running really loud.
That's key.
And need to be taken care of.
Okay, that's fair because then you're not prioritizing yourself.
Correct.
I can understand like putting your emotions like on the side to kind of deal with a very like tough situation in front of you that needs to. But I think the kind of disconnect is like you putting your emotions on the side because someone else's emotions were more important at that time or you deemed them more important.
Yeah, because it was like if mom is like going crazy and yelling and
yeah. I'm like learning more about you 4 years later.
Yeah.
Learning more about me?
Yeah.
What?
Continue.
So like it was just one of those things of like, hey, to keep everything happy and calm, bump your emotions, solve this problem. Whether it's wash the dishes, whether it's like make sure the house is like spotless. Because I mean, and in my mom's defense, sometimes that's like the only thing you can control in life is having like a clean house, you know. So like,
I get that.
of all you're doing, why can't the house be like just clean, you know?
That's your place of safety.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, please, it's just like not, you know. So I get it, but also I've had to now learn like how to regulate my emotions in a sense of, like feel your feelings. Like sometimes when stuff happens in the moment or it's intense, I have to like now take a breath and I have feelings. I can feel these feelings.
Yeah.
What am I feeling? I feel that. Okay. But once I feel them, I can usually move through them or make a better informed decision. But if I'm running from them or not acknowledging them, it's like you're stuck. Like it's like you can't really do anything about them, or it's like it's a wall you can't really get past.
You get that?
Until you feel, sometimes even feel the depth of them. Like you have to
just
feel
like,
it
I'm right
all.
here, toes in. I'm like, oh, okay, that's enough. I can't do this right now.
Exactly. But once you get to the bottom and realize, oh, this really, really, really hurt.
Yeah.
Or this really, really, really sucked. And like acknowledge that sometimes there's a loss associated with that. Like, what did I lose out in this? Like, what is this? What did I lose from this situation? And you acknowledge that loss and mourn the loss. Because I think a lot of times it's like learning how to lose stuff, you know?
And learning how to mourn for it.
Yeah, be sad about
hard.
it. And letting yourself be like, this did hurt. I am sad. Because I think, so like, when you cry about it, in whatever way you do, you're able to then be like, oh, yeah, okay.
You could even feel proud of yourself, like, hey, like I just let myself have feelings right now.
Yeah.
Where maybe I wouldn't have been able to do that in the past.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what do you think?
That's how I have learned to cope and process through my feelings.
Okay.
Your turn.
Huh?
Your turn.
My turn?
Repeating the question to buy more time.
I mean, I feel like advice to cope in a healthy way instead of pretending it's fine. I mean, you shouldn't pretend it's fine to escape. I feel like the emotional escape is definitely not healthy.
Right.
Granted, my way of coping with things are not something I'd recommend for anyone or everyone. But I found a system that works for me, and it's like,
and that's great.
But yeah, so I mean, the way I do it is whenever I have like a big, strong emotion or something, I know that I don't want to, not that I don't want to feel that emotion, but I know that if I feel that emotion, it will be a lot. And I don't want it to be a lot because throughout my whole life, I think more logically and rationally. And I want to keep that. So I don't want to just be blinded by emotions. Because I feel like that's not very productive in terms of like, for example, like if say like one of my roommates does me dirty or something like that, then it's just blind rage against my roommates.
Right.
And that's not going to be productive because then I'm just going to start saying a bunch of random stuff that are completely unrelated to the issue at hand. You know, like if they, don't do the dishes or if they like steal my food or if they, I don't know, whatever the case may be. But like, then it can bring up so much extra stuff that doesn't need to be said, or it can, it can just lead to so many worse things where if like I can bring up the situation in a calm, rational way, then it will actually be a productive conversation between, me and my roommates or whoever's wronged me or whatever emotion I'm feeling. So it's like, I want to think of the situation or the emotion in a rational way. So I put it on pause for a second until I can, cool myself down a little bit. And then I reapproach the situation at hand, whether it's like an emotion caused by like a traumatic event or whether it's caused by like an issue I have with someone or whatever the emotion may be.
Yeah.
But I like to think of it from more of an analytical perspective, or I like to feel it from a more analytical perspective. So I don't want it to be too strong because then I won't be able to think clearly. Yeah, I won't be able to control it. So that's why I tend to like put a pause on my emotions whenever they first come up. Yeah, that's all I got.
I think like there's something to be said about like both your stories. Like your story was kind of like, I think you probably do that with everyone, but like it's also like more beneficial, like not more beneficial, but like it applies to friendships, right? Versus like Lonnie's story where like that was his mom. So like the people, I think it's so telling like how like what coping skills you will use depending on who you're with. And they'll probably change and they'll probably be different, and each person's coping styles are different and unique to themselves. Like, and I think what's important is like I have coping skills that other people don't agree with. Like you may not like the way that I cope, but it helps me. And same thing for like you guys, right? Like it may not, other people may not like the way that you cope, but at the point maybe it helps you. I think like with my kids, I try to teach coping skills, but the idea is you can't necessarily enact coping skills when you're stressed out, because at some point you associate the coping skill with the stress. Right. At very early on, you should be.
Wait, how do you mean?
I'll explain it. So if you want to take deep breaths to calm down, right? If you're upset and someone tells you, like, take some deep breaths, like, or calm down, that would probably piss you off.
Yeah.
Like, that's the kind of reasoning that we have, like, where I work is like, okay, so if I'm going to teach coping skills, I got to teach what calm looks like first in a separate way, separate from triggers, like away from the things that stress you out.
So you got to show people, like, this ideal state to be in.
Yeah.
So that way when you get stressed, you know where to go.
Exactly. So that's why, like, a suggestion for a coping skill is have places and have things where you truly do feel at peace, where you feel that calmness. So that way, like, when you are stressed out, you can resort to that and not just, like, having, like, oh my God, I need to fucking calm down. Just like, hey, like, I can tap into those things that I've experienced and associated with positive things. And that could look like, you know what, like, I'm stressed out, I'm going to go cook. Because cooking is something that you associated with something that's calming.
Yeah.
I'm going to go play music. I'm going to go do X, Y, and Z. I'm going to go surf. Because those things you've associated with calm feelings. So, like, I don't think that pausing your feelings and thinking about it logically is wrong. I personally don't. I think it's a great skill. I don't think that taking the moment to, like, kind of work through other, like, things that are important that are stressful as well, like how you were saying, Lonnie, like, let me do this to help. Let me do this to help. I don't think those things are wrong either. And then just having those places, like, acknowledging the stressful situation, being proactive, like, if you can't do this, this, and this, revisiting that feeling later, and, like, in the middle of that, kind of implementing that coping strategy. Like, when I'm stressed out with my kids, I will, like, clench my toes. It's a small coping skill, but it helps me feel grounded, helps me calm down. And then I'm like, okay, Sarah, like, you're stressed. Do something really quick to kind of, like, release that stress and move on and think logically now. That's kind of like how I do a coping skill, kind of taking into those things, because I'm like, my kid's emotions right now are important too. This situation is important too, just as much as mine is. And I kind of, like, go from there. Outside of my kids, my coping skills are trash. I ignore people for 6 to 8 months on an end because I need to pause my emotions. But
as
with
you
my
should,
kids,
Queen. As you should.
With my kids, it's so much different.
Also, a random side note, does anyone else notice that this...
Yeah, his tire is about to explode.
Yeah, because you can smell the burnt rubber and there's smoke coming out of his back left tire.
Oh, is that what that is?
Yeah.
Oh, tough, buddy.
I thought he was just kicking up dirt.
And that's a Toyota Tacoma, too.
Maybe
got, like,
Toyotas aren't all that.
He's got, like, a small thing of, like, leaves, like, stuck onto the front of his car.
Hit
Probably been
those
underneath a
up.
tree.
Yeah.
Burnt rubber, baby. Love it.
Well, I think those are some good tips of like how to cope with emotions and not pretend like everything is okay. There are, like, I think there are crisis times where it's like, you know, like me dealing with my mom in some situations, like, this crisis time, solve it.
Yeah.
But once you're not in crisis time, you really got to, like, see what happened during the crisis. Like, after you get out of a war, you have to evaluate the damage that was done and see what happened. Because if you act like there's no damage, everything's fine, it's like you're just a Lulu. You know? And you're going to feel the effects of the war some way or another, whether you look at it or not. And it's much better. You can recover much faster and much healthier if you acknowledge the wounds, the scrapes, the cuts you got, and say, all right, there's a wound here. Let me dress it and, like, take care of it however I can, instead of letting it infected and having to cut off my leg later on because I didn't want to acknowledge that I got hurt in the fight.
Yes, because everyone in this current 2023 world experiences war experiences.
Yeah.
We expect you to know what that means.
Yes.
I
Go ahead.
I think, like, in a nutshell for me, it's like, in crisis situations right now, my emotions get really intense really fast, so that when I'm when I'm really upset, I'll either distance myself so that way I can, like, calm down and come back much more clear-headed, but usually I'll just say, hey, you know what, like, I'm getting really upset right now and I need to do this. Like, that's kind of, like, been my coping skill, like, as of late, where I'm like, you know what, like, what you just said right now really pissed me off and I need to clarify what you meant because I'm getting angry.
Yeah.
I'm getting upset. I'm starting to feel confused. I'm starting to feel sad. I called my best friend and I was like, hey, I'm feeling sad because I'm feeling like I haven't had a cool, like, genuine connection with you in a while, and I'm not mad. I'm just feeling sad.
Yep.
So just being able to, like, in the moment, like, for me,
to have some tools to say.
Yeah.
Like some little things you
that
can say.
Functional communication is a huge coping skill that helps me, like, so much.
One of my favorite things to say when I'm trying to navigate a tough conversation with somebody regarding emotions is, like, this is one from Brene Brown, my girl, Bernie Brown. But she'll say, she says, the story I'm telling myself is...
I like that.
And that's just a way to say it. Instead of saying, hey, I feel like you hate me, like, you can kind of, like, take it away from it being a personal attack on them, and if you feel kind of ashamed or embarrassed about it, it doesn't have to be like, I feel like you hate me. It's like, oh, you figure hate you, shut up, you know?
Yeah.
Instead, he's kind of like, the tape recorder playing in my head is this scenario.
Yeah.
Or the story I'm telling myself is that I said this, it got you upset, and now you don't want to talk to me anymore because, like, you hate me. Is that accurate? You know, and then you have a chance
Is
to
that
kinda,
what happened?
Yeah, is that
Can
what
you
happened?
clarify what you meant when you said this? I like that.
The story I'm telling myself. It's a nice little way to, like, to kind of take a situation and put it kind of out of both people's laps and instead onto the table where you can look at it. Because it's not like you're really fighting against the other person half the time. It's usually like the situation that you're trying to resolve.
Yeah. And it sounds like it's coming from more of a place of love where it's like, hey, like I'm feeling this way. How can I talk to this person without making the situation worse? Like, I'm not coming here to attack them.
I'm not coming at you.
I'm not coming at you, but like, this is a very real thing that I'm feeling.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
For sure. I like that one too. Yeah, but as far as processing emotions, I think those are some great places to start. Uh-oh.
I think we're in the carpool.
Let's hope so.
Mexico, here we come.
We are getting really close to Tijuana.
Vamos a Mexico.
When does the sepia tone filter come on for Mexico? Is it once we cross the border, or?
When Mr. Worldwide.
Dale.
Dale.
But what was the second one, Sam? The second most?
The second most was...
Yeah. I had taken pictures of them on my phone. There we go. Perfect.
There we go.
All right. Just to help you out there. Okay, so guys, this is gonna be a shorter episode because literally this is the third time the audio has like cut off or the phone is overheated. So if you guys want to send us like a GoPro or something to mount in the car for the CarCast videos, we'll happily accept it. But Sarah's doing her best to like keep the phone covered so we can finish this out. But we'll go through this last. I want to do 3 other things. The top 3. We're just gonna have time for the top 2. Sam, what was the second one people said?
The second one was the difference between loving someone and making excuses for their behavior.
Okay, so I lied. We don't have time to get into this at all.
I can't do that one. Oh, can we do that a different day when I go to therapy? Oh, me too,
all right.
me too.
The difference between loving someone and making excuses for their behavior. I'll jump in. I think I feel this one pretty decently because I went from being extreme fixer and making excuses for everybody and trying over and over and over again to help people to then like this is I said this last episode. I said this recently. Like the type of like the girls I dated in like kind of growing up, I tried to be like a fixer and a helper a lot of the times, which wasn't good for probably either of us. But I think since I have kind of learned like the difference between being a like loving somebody and just like making excuses. Whenever you're making excuses, it's like you're constantly like violating your own boundaries.
I like that.
You're constantly violating and having your boundaries violated, but you find a reason why it is like okay. Like you find a reason why it's like fine. And the people who have pretty good boundaries, I used to think were just mean. Because sometimes they still are just mean. But but they still have good boundaries and protect their own like wishes, their own like desires, and they are like and when I say boundaries, it's like I love you, but if I do not want to do something, I will not do it. You know, my no means no. And like some people have a hard time even expressing that, having any kind of desires at all. Because again, sometimes you've been like, oh, I just like accommodating. I just like to be helpful. And it's like, that might be a sign of bad boundaries. There is a book called Boundaries. It's got a pretty religious kind of framework to it, but it's still pretty good in terms of helping you realize like what is healthy boundaries versus what is not healthy boundaries. Because if you've never had those before, it's really hard to know what they look like, you know? But I think making excuses for somebody comes at the cost of like, you are constantly sacrificing over and over and over and over again. And they show like almost no signs of like improvement or like they're not trending upwards in terms of respecting your wishes or your desires more and more over time. Because if someone's like learning and they're like, oh, I'm sorry I did that. I'm actually trying to do better. And then like you can objectively look and see they tried and there's a difference here. Because I mean, you can try, but if you're not doing it, that's also something worth considering. Yeah. Like, it's like you can say you're trying, but it's just not happening. So now I'm going to have to step in and put down my own like boundaries or my own way of protecting myself here in this circumstance. I am missing our exit because I'm in the Hoveline. I'm sure it's fine.
I think it'll be fine. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
There's a next exit.
Oh, look, it did it for us. Oh, wow. Very
Heyo.
fun.
Wow.
Look how special you are. When you're in the homeland, you're treated like royalty.
Oh.
Wow.
Very cool. Very cool. Thank you, Kanye. That is what I would say the difference is. Like, loving somebody is like they are not doing great. Like, so I assume the thing is like, okay, so it feels more like I understand and I have a sense and an awareness that like you, like what you've done, who you are and what you're doing and the things you are going to do. And I do not feel obligated to like have to be here or put up with this.
Okay.
But because I like care about you,
Like, I'm
I
choosing to
am
be
going
there.
to allow this much. Like, you still have boundaries. It's not like a free-for-all. It's not like they can just walk over you and take whatever they want from you.
Nice.
It's like a choice of like, I am willing to give you only this much, and you will not take any more than that. And if you do, there will be consequences. Whether those consequences look like me distancing myself from you, me removing you from my life, less communicate, whatever that looks like. Not like I love you any less, but I'm not going to allow you to constantly like disregard and disrespect my boundaries.
Dang.
You know.
I like that.
So I think that's kind of the difference. Like, I love you, but you can still have boundaries and love somebody. If someone's just taking advantage of you and you're like making excuses, then your boundaries at most times are being constantly like wrecked or disregarded or disrespected. It's taken me a long time to learn that, but that is a distinctions that I've kind of been able to pull through. You guys,
I already like opted out of that one. I'm
Cool.
still in that struggle, but that was helpful for
what
me to hear.
what does it feel like to you? Because I mean, you probably have a perspective that a lot of other people also feel similarly to, though.
She's in it really deep right now. It's not even like
She's like, it's not even like that. It's not even that big of a deal. Like,
Yeah.
I know, he's chill. He's not even that bad of a guy. Oh my
he's
god.
not.
Just making excuses.
I can't do this on this podcast.
No. Oh, hold on.
I'll text him.
Go.
I can't do this on this podcast. We're gonna have to talk about that in private.
I put all my stuff out here. She's like,
That is my boundary.
Sam.
And we respect that.
Right.
The difference between loving someone and
making excuses.
excuses for them. I mean, I'm kind of in the same boat in terms of like, it's all about boundaries and like setting those healthy boundaries. Like, you don't want them to walk all over you. You also don't want them to like distance themselves from you. Especially, that's one thing I've learned here in LA too, is like, if you don't like meet the minimum quota of hanging out with people here, they will just not care about you forever. Like,
feel that.
like there's some friends that's like, if I don't see you once a month, you will forget who I am, and then I'll never hear from you again.
Which again, some people would say is not real friendship.
Right.
Not that it's not a brand of friendship, but I mean, like at the core of like quality relationship and friendship,
Yeah.
there's a differentiator there of like, oh, we are here for true human connection. True human connection would say like wholeheartedness kind of thing. That'd be like, okay, I haven't seen you in forever, but I remember you, I see you, I acknowledge you, I value you, you know, whether we see each other every day or not. And there's some differences to that.
I'm excited to see you.
Yeah.
I missed you a little
But
bit.
in LA, it can be a little bit more like, we are friends. But if I don't see you, I have forgotten your existence.
Yeah.
And it's like, maybe that's not the exact
Some
type
of them
of
we're not friends.
friendship.
We're just
Yeah.
that
I will be
you keep
nice
close
to
to
you
your
when
soul.
we hang out.
Associates,
Yeah.
some might call.
Yeah.
Yeah, more or less associates. And I feel like also it is partly just because like we're not that close of friends. Like, I don't see them very often.
Right.
So, I mean, I'm also not like pressed about it either. You know, it's just like, oh, you know, if I see you, I see you. That's cool.
Yeah.
If I don't, I mean, I know I have my close group of friends, like my core friends here, who I will always love and cherish.
Yeah.
And sometimes I might not see them for a while, and I still love them. They're still my friends. And sometimes I'll see them every day. And they're still my friends, even though they hate me.
That's true. I was like, Sam,
I'm
wait.
looking, all text, I'm looking at Lonnie.
Do the Muppets. Oh, you know, I do a Muppet laugh sometimes. I'm really
the
happy.
head turn. You got to turn
Yeah,
with the microphone.
But yeah, I think it's all about boundaries and like being able to set those healthy boundaries and being able to, you know where you stand.
Yeah.
Like, your
Which can
line
be
in
a
the
whole
sand is
journey.
right here.
Ooh.
And I'm not going to let that. I'm not going to lie. I spent the first 10 minutes looking at that question thinking like, oh.
Lonnie's going to ask me this. How? I need to think about it now.
No. I thought it was like you making excuses for other people.
Well, yeah.
In terms of like
they're not doing this and this. Like that's okay though.
No,
like
no,
they're mistreating me, but it's fine.
Like, say if you come to me and you're like, say Sarah, if you come to me and you're like, yo, this Lonnie guy fucking sucks. Like I hate. He's an awful person, and then I'm making excuses on Lonnie's behalf.
Oh, okay.
That's what I thought the question was aiming towards, and then the more you guys were talking, I was like, yeah, I definitely misread that. Like,
or
back to
we
last
misread
podcast,
it because it seemed like a very like open-ended question. So like
Yeah.
there's different interpretations.
True,
like,
yeah.
You hit a different perspective, and I like that too, right?
that's true.
You gotta hit all the angles.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, like at least on that angle, I'm like, I am the type of person like I will never bash an ex. I don't want, I feel like that's not my place to speak or whatever.
It's kind of ugly behavior, like depending on like, the
Exactly.
situation. Like certain,
And I'm like, all my friends like who have known my ex, like I don't need to bash my ex. Like any
Right.
faults or issues that I had with her, my friends also had with her, because we're all good, like-minded people. That's why they're my friends. But is that you or the car?
It's a car. It's a car.
But yeah, I mean, I also don't like the idea of bashing other people. Some people do deserve it. Like, if you're just a real, piece of work.
I'm gonna talk your shit. Like,
Just-
I'm gonna talk my shit.
Exactly. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
like sometimes I'm like, if I don't like you, I don't care about talking bad about you. But
Fair.
sometimes I'm like, I have friends, and some people will talk bad about them, and then, sometimes I'm like, well, I mean, they were probably going through something, or like, well, I mean,
Yeah.
like,
Sometimes, like, objectively, it's like neither of you are terrible people. It just didn't line up, didn't fit right, and
exactly.
stuff went south. But
Yeah.
sometimes it's like, oh my god, that's actually awful that they said those things. That's like really terrible.
Yeah.
Like I've seen that as well, and I'm like, they said what?
Huh?
Also, Sam, continue. I don't want to cut you off.
Oh, no, that's what I was kind of alluding to, is like the whole, like, I don't want to talk bad about people, especially like behind their backs.
Yeah.
So like I will, if someone's bashing one of my friends or somebody that, I don't see negatively, then I will try to vouch for them. And not like vouch for them in terms of like, well, they were doing this and this and this, they thought this way. It's just like, well, have you considered that like there's a possibility that
Yeah.
XYZ
Like
could have
neutralize,
happened? Yeah,
like
exactly.
neutralize some of the poison. I appreciate it and try to follow that same pursuit. I have to say, I've gotten a little worse with it lately, where I will sometimes be like, oh yeah, I hate so and so. They're actually stupid and it's awful, and I don't like them. Which I would have never done that like even 3 years ago, but I think I just got lax on it. But I want to get back to just like, people are people and they're always going through something. Nobody's crazy. People always have a reason for doing what they do. Whether it's a good reason or a bad reason, it makes sense to them, and that's why they did it.
I think that's fair, but like I also
She said, but
but if they did something shitty and they hurt you, that
Don't invalidate your own feelings.
Don't invalidate your own feelings. Like it's probably a reason, right? Always probably a reason. There's always a function of a behavior, always, but it could be a shitty function, and it could be.
I want that on a shirt.
And it could be because they lack skills or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, but at the end of the day, like you're like, ugh, I know too much about behavior. But if it made you feel a shitty way, like your feelings are valid, and you shouldn't like you shouldn't feel like you have to put up with that feeling just because of those things.
It's like just because their
Just
feelings
because
are
of
valid
those
doesn't mean
excuses
you
they
have
made.
to suffer through and like
Yeah.
deal with that as well.
Yeah.
I don't think we're gonna have time to get to the third question.
What is the third question?
Yeah, what is the third question, Sam?
the third one is.
Do you have it or do you?
I do.
Okay, cool.
It is not to seek validation in people that could care less for you.
So the short answer. Let's
How
give
to
a.
not do that, or
yeah.
what to do when you do that? Well, I guess
Oh,
that's still the same.
Yeah.
Thing, how.
All right. Rapid fire. Actually, 30 seconds. This one is the one that's require more. Hey, if you guys have any thoughts on this that you like or we missed, leave it in the comment section, please.
People that don't.
Don't value. How to not seek validation from people who don't care about you. I talked to somebody about this literally like 2 days ago.
Okay.
Like whether it's a parent who like you really want to approve of you who doesn't. I think there comes a level of mourning and grief you have to just kind of accept with it.
That's fair.
I think you have to kind of grieve the fact that you might never get it and you probably won't ever get it. But again, like we talked about earlier, when you grieve it, you're kind of set free from it.
Yeah.
And you can look for it in places that like are worthwhile, like people who really care about you and are worth your time and effort.
I like
And then also remembering that no matter what happens, you are enough.
Cool.
By yourself, as you are enough. It has to start with realizing that.
People, like me included, right?
Yeah, I mean, I have to write it down on my mirror, write it down on my hand, because sometimes I'm usually pretty good, but then sometimes I get into situations where I freak out.
Yeah.
And I have to like breathe and let it pass. Like, oh wait, I am enough. And then over time, you start to build a history of what moments where it's like, I am enough. I did this, I did this, I did this. And you can look back on that and be like, we're good.
That's
We're
a good
okay.
coping skill.
We can move forward. We don't have to stress about that person not paying attention to us or this person doing that. I think that's my quick advice on that.
Tim, you go.
Okay. I just thought of this on the fly.
Yes.
And hear me out.
Uh-oh.
My advice for like not seeking the validation of people that could care less for you is to just think of everybody as less than you. Now, hear me out. Because whenever you think of people, at least from my experience, whenever I think of people as either my equal or less than me and stop thinking of people as like better than me, because especially when I moved to LA, I used to think like, oh, you know, XYZ, like all these people are like better than me. And, you know, then I'm like really seeking that validation. And when they don't give it to me, I feel like shit. And so then what I started doing was just thinking like, especially once I started to get to know people, I'm like, you are incapable of doing dishes. I don't care if you like me or not. You know, I don't care if you.
He's not entirely wrong.
No, I'm like, bro, there's some people that I've seen out here that like don't wipe after they poop. And I'm like, okay, if you're incapable of basic human functions to that degree, then
you
like,
probably don't wash your ass. I don't care what opinion of me.
yeah, literally, your opinions are invalid. But like also,
imagine Shannon Sharp
viewers.
saying that on like ESPN.
But yeah, like once I started thinking people aren't like better than me, they're either on my level or less than me, then it's like, okay, do I really care to lose a quote unquote friend or a quote unquote connection or whatever of somebody who I don't even care that much because they're less than me? You know, that type of like arrogance of I don't. It's kind of like a Vegeta type of like arrogance of like
Prince of Saiyan.
Yeah, like I don't need anyone else. I can do everything that I need to do on my own. I don't need anyone. But when Goku does come to save my ass, that was very much appreciated because I would have died.
Yeah. Thank you so much. You're a real friend. I appreciate you, pal.
Yeah, exactly.
You're actually kind of right, because like sometimes whenever I get like the cold shoulder from people, and maybe this is a bad coping mechanism that needs to be like grown through, but at least where I'm at right now, to be completely transparent, if there's a situation I'm like, oh, I want to get this person's attention or like whatever, and then I don't receive that.
You missed the exit. Now we have more time to talk about this question.
Ooh, that's pretty. I've never been to San Diego.
Continue.
No, I've never been here. It's really pretty. There's like a bay here. I don't know. But like if there's somebody's attention I want, I don't get it, or like a group of people I want to like talk to and they're just kind of like butt me out or whatever the case is, I just like think to myself, I'm kind of like, for one, like I am enough. So I think that's a mature way to look at it. Like me and my own is enough. But then there's also an element that I use to kind of like help that a little bit, and like, and they probably don't even like themselves. I'm like, they probably don't like themselves.
If I acted like that, I would hate myself.
Yeah,
like that's such a dick way.
Exactly. Yeah, you know, I'm
yeah.
like a little bit of like, well, if it was me, I would make sure that the people on the outside could talk and join in as well. And I don't think I want to be around anybody who can't do that. So they're probably not that great of people anyways.
I think like I second that. Like my coping skill for that is just being like, I have definitely been in situations where I'm weird and I'm like, you know, like some people didn't react the way that I wanted them to, but that's okay because I'm great. Sorry, I'm great. I like myself. I've had to learn to enjoy my own company like so much that I'm like totally fine. Like if someone else does not enjoy it, I'm like, that's not a personal thing against me.
Yeah.
Like that's what you think. You're clearly missing something that's great. Like you're missing the joke right now.
You know,
and
that
sucks for
it's
you.
good. It's pretty good because I came up with it and I'm pretty good.
And
so.
I'm pretty good. And I enjoy myself. And I
if you
love
miss
myself
that,
in that way.
you're missing out.
And you're missing out.
Wah,
wah. Boo.
Yeah.
Wah, wah.
And it helps whenever you also have friends who can back that up. Like, no, she's great. She's great. It's hilarious. I've seen it. You guys are dumb. Which, again, I don't think is maybe necessarily the healthiest. Gas is $7 here for what?
Ooh,
Why?
San Diego.
$6.79 for gas. Goodness gracious. Wow. San Diego kind of reminds me a little bit of almost Miami vibes, Fort Lauderdale vibes. There's like a harbor.
Guys,
yeah.
You guys want to sneak on a cruise?
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Look at that big boat over there.
I'm down.
To your left.
It's not that easy to sneak on a cruise.
I can do it.
If you run fast enough,
I'll
they
do-
can't
I'll
catch
go
all of
first.
us.
I'll go first. I'll
No,
distract
at the
them.
same time. Everybody same time. Oh, no?
I'll distract them.
Okay.
Maybe we each wear a shirt. I'll wear a shirt that says 1. You wear one that says 3. Sam will wear one that says 4. And we'll just like
Yeah.
sprint past the guards.
Yeah.
Oh, that was smart. Thing 1, thing 3, thing 4.
And they're like, where's 2?
Must find that one first.
2's already inside.
Oh, we need to get him.
Yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I did. I told Sam he would get his therapy, and boy did he.
I was not expecting that.
Boy
No?
did he.
That was
No,
good.
that was good.
What
I
did
got to know you more
Can we
too.
summarize?
Yeah.
real quick? I don't know. One thing you took away. Just drop the people with a little nugget.
Okay, so per each question.
No, just in general from the whole thing.
What did you learn today?
Me, I got a better, clearer sense of how I got to where I am in terms of how I process my emotions. And I think whenever you know a little bit better how you got there, you have better tools to like adjust it. Like whenever you don't know what you're grasping at or what the layout of the land is, it's really hard to make a plan. But I'm like, oh, I was in crisis. I put my emotions to the side. I prioritize other people's. Like maybe I should start giving them kind of equal balance, or maybe like fixing that balance of how I prioritize other people's emotions.
There.
So
I think for me, it's like comes from my experience, and then like something that I learned from here is that I cannot always deal with things as they're happening. Like sometimes the time to cope, or sometimes the time to solve things or problem solve is not in the moment where I'm at my highest emotional level.
Fair.
Like at my very tippy top, bursting out in tears is probably not the time for me to try to problem solve. I need to calm down first, and then like that's kind of a really good strategy that I've given myself.
Yeah.
The grace to feel. When I'm calmed down, I'll deal with that later. And then also right now, I'm just realizing how great I am talking about other people's problems, and then I'm like
Oh my God.
reflecting on my own stuff,
Hilarious.
and I'm like, man, I'm deep in the trenches in these areas, but I'm over here talking like I'm a professional.
How does that make you feel?
I'm like, wow, my voice is so calm and neutral, but like I was literally
Sarah,
sobbing.
tell us about the man.
I
can't do it right now.
I was sobbing last night,
do it right now.
but that's being like so real.
Honestly. All right, fair enough, Sam.
I learned to always check your tires before you start driving, or else they might explode on the highway.
That's such a
That guy's
fair
probably
thing.
fine.
That's fair, right? 'Cause
He's
if you
probably
sort
doing
of
okay.
swivel and then
Hopefully.
it, like, causes
What is
an
the average price of rent in San Diego?
$8,000.
You're lying. You said a number. You just made up a number. Sam, give us that outro music.
That was so on You guys are seeing.
Ivy League Podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Just